He's here.
All right. Can you call the roll for us, please, ma'am?
Mr. Anderson, not present. Mr. Carter.
Here.
Mr. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Buck.
Here.
Mr. Norton.
Here.
Ms. Pace.
Here.
Ms. Stubblefield. Here. Ms. Kennedy.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we are governed by the Freedom of Information Act, so if you wish a copy of the minutes or anything that goes on here, they can be had at City Hall. You need a motion to approve the minutes for November 1st.
So moved.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any personal appearances? Anybody in the audience would like to say anything? Now is the time. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Stand right there and tell us your name and where you live.
Okay, great. I'm Richard Parker. I live at the end of West Ashley. And we're full-time.
Number and the road address, please.
Oh.
Sorry, it's for official minutes.
Okay, 1029 West Ashley.
Okay.
Where we
All right.
live. So I wanted to say three things. First of all, I want to introduce myself, Richard Parker. My wife is right here, Jill Parker. Agent Keith McCann, long time, and my architect back
Well, I don't know if that's gonna do you any good.
Probably should have stayed home.
and Ryan and Sean, architect, Sean Carlin, Ryan Smith, and everybody here is for this project, so just including everybody else. All right. Anyway, we've been vacationing down here since I started coming in the late 70s, early 80s to that Baptist Ministry House every year with the youth group. And then we've owned a vacation house for about 10 years down here. And we just made Folly our permanent home in October of this year. So we're down here. We're very happy to be down here. And, you know, can't say anything's forever, but we're looking like this is our forever place to be. We have a lot of ties to Folly. A second thing I want to talk about is the actual project. And this project that we're looking at is you go down center and take a right on West Ashley, and you pass Loggerheads, cross over 2nd Street. This is the third parcel on the left. It's a vacant lot right now. It stretches from West Ashley to West Arctic. And that's the piece of property. And it's in the Island Commercial District. And the Island Commercial District stretches all the way down to the little Folly Beach Park right there on 3rd Street. So it's sort of right in the middle of the Island Commercial District. And what we want to build there is, we've been working on about a year. And it's a charming inn, 9 rooms. And underneath it, we're going to have a small grocery store. And inside that grocery store, we're going to have a coffee shop named Jillibeans. So we're very excited about it. I've left a long 35-year career in medical product sales and looking forward to serving some coffee and getting some vacationers to come down and rent these rooms. And we want to be a community spot. We want to do things that are in line with what y'all want here, and we want to be a good partner. So that's who we are, and that's the project. But specifically what I wanted to talk about was, this has been going on, I guess, about a year, and I sent this out. I don't know if you've seen it or not. But Sean and Ryan put it together, and they've been talking with Katie. And it has 15 parking spaces on the lot. And one of them's handicapped, and then it has 6 golf cart spots as well. So there's ample parking on this lot. It's a 70-foot lot like all these are down here, about a quarter acre. So I guess it's quasi-approved, but not approved. And that's why I'm here, because if we, this last bullet on here that says that we're moving from a 0-foot setback to a 10-foot setback will totally obliterate this plan, because we don't have enough room in the building to do everything we're trying to do, with being able to put 15 parking spaces on here and having a driveway through the lot. We're going to have everybody enter on West Ashley and run right through and exit on West Arctic, come around that way. So there won't be a backing in and out kind of thing. It'll be just a one-way. We got parking spaces on one side of the lot and the inn on the other side of the lot with the grocery underneath it. So that's everything we're doing. So what I'm asking is that what is here be approved without being subject to this setback that's about to be talked about. Because if this plan has to incorporate the new setback, I gotta start over. And I've got a lot of time and money in it already. And again, I'm not gonna do anything and force anything through at all, but I just wanna know how to go forward, because we're kind of at a place right now where we've got builders on hold and Sean's ready to move, and so we just need a way to move forward from here.
So you hadn't already put a building permit in?
No.
Prior to the,
No, we have not.
so you wouldn't be exempted from the moratorium?
No, we have to get our building permit after that. But anyway, we all, you know, we want to be a good community member. Clean up the beach. It might be a great place to meet and everybody start out to do something like that. So that's what we're all about.
What are you asking us to do?
I'm asking you to say that since this plan was already quasi-approved with 0 foot setback, that you just say, okay, you can go forward even if we enact a 10 foot setback rule.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this body can't do any approvals of that nature, but it can take into account what is proposed with that island commercial zoning ordinance, and just think about the impacts to development, setbacks, et cetera, when it is remanded to you guys for some public comments taken.
Can he go to the zoning board of appeals and request this?
He could, if this is put through, he could go to the BZA. He would have to prove that there is no use of the lot at all without that variance. So that, I'm not sure, has been.
Okay. That's the only standard?
There are 7, but that's the biggest hurdle. It's usually what.
Yeah, the biggest hurdle is his setbacks.
Yes,
With
to
the
have a
plan that he
variance
already has
granted, the
here.
biggest hurdle is to prove that you don't have any other use of that lot. So could an N be there at all? Could a grocery store be there at all? Could it, you know, that would take some studying from. Right. And maybe the answer is no, and maybe that setback's too much, which we wouldn't want to codify it in our ordinance anyway. So just kind of some food for thought with a real life example.
Yeah, because that's not something that we can make the decision on.
No, but you could make a recommendation to council about the setback
Got
when
it. Okay.
remanded to you all.
Is it not possible, Katie, to put verbiage in there that people that have been working on the project purchase a piece of real estate based on the current rules when they purchased it to be vested? Is that not a possibility?
So usually what we have is we base it off building permit application or DRB approvals. That could be a legal question for Joe.
I would say no, because I could have purchased a piece of property 10 years ago and then
That's
said, well, I
usually
always
the legal
wanted it to be
yeah.
this other thing.
The
but
permit
he
is
has
what
a real plan. That's probably dated.
But he does have an appeal process.
always.
Even if it comes back to us for hearing. He's got an appeal
We're still
process.
here though.
Okay, just letting you know.
Yeah.
Katie,
I know we have more citizen comment. I don't know if they were gonna talk to you.
Yeah, can I introduce it? Hi, I'm Lisa Herbert, one of the owners of 114 East Ashley since the 90s. My father, Carl Wolf, is another owner, and my brother, Carl Wolf III, is another owner. We're just right down off of Center, old house in the front. Right now, my son and my brother park cars in the summer out there. I've been doing it for years. I think everybody knows Wolfie. Probably knows even my son for parking because he's been out here for years doing it. I just kind of want to express the concern in the new district that's getting ready to happen and how it affects us personally. We were in the process of getting ready to build a home on the back. We have a double lot of 70 by 150, so that I could accommodate a room for my father and for my 4 children and make it a family house. No intention of ever renting it. I mean, it was strictly going to be a family house for my grandchildren, and everybody would come and have a place to stay. Because right now the house that we're in is 1,000 square feet with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. And it's fallen down pretty much because it was built in the early 1900s. But it has the old charm, and we don't want to tear down the old house. If we tore down the old house, we could probably build a monstrosity of something that nobody would like here, and that's not what we want to do. We've been part of the Folly Beach family. I've been coming here since I was born. We always came here for vacation. We came when there was a park, and my uncle owns the Sand Dollar, and I mean, we're part of Folly. And, you know, we park people for free for all the Toys for Tots yesterday, for different groups throughout the year. We try to be a part of the Folly Beach family and not necessarily, yes, we have a business there, but we try to keep it as family oriented as we can. And we're just kind of crushed because we were in the process of doing these plans, of course, and so not at the point. We had talked to Katie, we've been talking to Eric about what exactly we could build, whether we make it a single family and my dad just has a room in our house with us, or whether we did a townhouse and he had his own little separate space that was attached to my family space. But pretty much all of that is going with this new ordinance. And we're just asking you to take into account, you know, that there are families here. You know, that's been a residential house since the 1900s. We bought it from the first owner. And the intent, you know, is to keep it that way, and to make it be part of Folly. And we want it to look good, and we don't want a lot of people coming and going. But, you know, if we have to put a business in the bottom to make it work, I guess that's what we'll have to do. But we just want everybody to be aware. Sometimes you look at stuff on paper and think, oh, this sounds great, but you don't realize the effects of what it does to some of us who are trying to do something that I think is more Folly oriented.
So you're wanting to leave the structure that's there and build another one?
Yeah, the house is huge. I mean, our lot's huge. It's 70 by 150. We have plenty of room to build on the back street because we have access from front and back now. Cars come from the front and back. So we could very easily build on the back half of the lot. I mean, most of the lots next to us have already been subdivided into half, and there are 2 houses. It's just ours is 1 lot, and they'll no longer allow subdivision. So we were just going to build a second family house there on the same lot. I mean, we could condominiumize it. We could make 1 unit 1, 1 unit 2 to beat the system, but we're just trying to be honest and upfront and make everybody realize the effects of what it does to just a little Folly family who wants to build a house to use, to have their kids come and my grandkids come. So anyhow, just think about it when you're doing these ordinances, because it is a big effect on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Anybody else want to address? All right. Any unfinished business that anybody has? Okay. Our new business is the ordinance that you see, and this is in regard to a definition of the kitchen.
Yep, let me get to
Everybody have a copy of this ordinance? 03921. Have a copy? If y'all pick up the package, it should be 03921. Keep moving.
should be the last 3 pages of your packet. Yeah, it's bigger than what we're normally used to.
Okay.
Do you want me to give some
Yes.
background info?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I know this 2 kitchen dwelling unit conversation happened maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It came to planning commission and ultimately didn't go through. Since then, staff has had some either complaints about houses that circumvent and have 2 kitchens, whatever that definition is, in relation to short-term rentals. So there are some complaints where people live in their house full-time, which is fine, and rent that out, but then stay in that while the whole family has, run of the house, and ends up operating like a duplex with the time that it's rented, which is illegal and not allowed. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is that there is some new construction plans that has been proposed to staff for preliminary review that technically is allowed. but the space can be, the front half of the house can be closed off to the back half of the house, and then there are kitchen elements in both parts. So while it is technically not a duplex, it could be, in the future, could turn into a situation that could be non-conforming in a way. So we know that the city does not and will never catch every single thing that is either illegally permitted or out of the bounds of our ordinance, but this would at least give staff some teeth when we are investigating complaints, or some guidance when looking at new construction, to limit the density and not have houses develop into issues in the future. So the biggest thing that's proposed is introducing some definitions, so at least gives us some clarity and something to point to. First thing is defining what a dwelling unit is, and then how many dwelling units are allowed in the single family, and then has the two-family definition as well. So that's what you see in the definition section. There's a new definition for kitchen. I think it can be explored and built upon a little bit more. We can get as specific, we can call out specifics if that's a recommendation that Planning Commission wants to make to council. And then within the single and two-family design standards, it calls out that there's only one complete interior kitchen shall be allowed per dwelling unit. So that doesn't count outdoor kitchens. So you could still have an outdoor kitchen and an indoor kitchen, as that's pretty common, as we live in Folly Beach and it's beautiful. But it would be one complete interior kitchen, and then the kitchen definition shows that it contains a sink, refrigeration unit, and cooking unit. I think either a cooking unit could have its own definition, or within the kitchen definition we can spell out that a cooking unit is X, Y, and Z, or does not include X, Y, and Z. However, Planning Commission sees fit. This would be really beneficial to staff and eliminate a lot of gray areas that we see day to day.
Are you looking at this primarily as a way to control new permitting, or are you looking at this primarily as a way to allow Eric to have more teeth for code enforcement?
It would be new permitting and code enforcement on that complaint basis. So the city is not ever going to go out and look and be the kitchen police and try to find problems. But if we do have complaints and we have to go investigate and enter a home, and we find out that there are either two full kitchens or two kitchens that meet these definitions, that we would have the ability to rectify that situation.
So if we pass this and I say, I think Paula has two kitchens in her house, and then Eric knocks on her door and has the right to go in and look and finds two kitchens, then what? He doesn't have that one.
So he would be able to investigate that.
You would have to go through legal things in order to be able to just walk into your house. They can't just walk into your house.
Right.
I've got some comments on this, because we've got an awful lot of houses with two kitchens.
Right.
Okay.
So it would not affect things that exist right now. And so
Even if they're illegal?
Well, currently they're not illegal.
Right,
Right.
but if we make
Right.
it
If we pass this, that's a good point there, and from a legal standpoint, maybe.
Right.
But an awful lot of, and I'm gonna give you another little history lesson, because you go back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s on Folly Beach, and most of the houses had downstairs quarters where the nannies came and stayed, or somebody else came and stayed. So there were two kitchens in an awful lot of houses. Hugo took care of about 300 of those and destroyed them. But there are still a large percentage that do have at least some semblance of a second kitchen in them. So, and how many issues have we had with this kitchen ordinance that's given the city heartburn?
I was initially against this when we first talked about this. In the meantime, a duplex was built across the street from me, and it truly is a duplex. And I've been talking to Katie, and it's taken a year, and it's finally gone to court and everything. They actually built this 2 floors, exactly the same. Same bedroom, same kitchen, same bathroom. No one lives there and they run out both floors separate. And it is,
In your neighborhood?
yes ma'am, catty corner.
Your zone, single family?
Single family. Yeah, it's called the Folly Red House. And when we first talked about this, I was against it. I didn't see any way that would be enforced, and now I see it. The city doesn't have any teeth if somebody wants 2 kitchens. And what they did in this house was they had a door separating upstairs from downstairs, and they just closed that off. Yeah, so the people who go downstairs walk on the back porch, the people who go upstairs walk on the front porch. And you think 1 resident can get crowded, imagine 2 right across the street from you. And I don't know, I understand where you're coming from, both of y'all, with the things that have been here for a while. I don't know if they can put in the things we do, like if it's new construction or significant improvement or anything like that, to do something like that. But I didn't think this was probably until they put it across the street from me.
So how many incidents in the city, how many times has the city had to go after?
So we've seen it once with Randy, and then we had plans basically with the same layout that were floated to us to say, would this be fine? We want to build this, but we don't want to go further. We don't want to waste money on plans. And technically, yes, they could close the door and they could rent out the front. I mean, there was also a business license infraction. They had 2 rentals under 1 business license, so you can't do that. But you can have someone, a full-time homeowner, stay there, and they can rent out this front half of their house, and that is legal.
But the thing of it is, it was approved.
Right. So, and it was allowed, but they're using it in the wrong way.
If somebody comes to y'all about a house they want to build with 2 kitchens, you just say no. I mean,
but we can't
But
because
legally they can't.
right, without something like this to point to it, because the building code is very vague. We can't say no, don't have that many egresses, that's, so there has to be, that's why the single family definition and the kitchen definition are in there. If we need to tailor it or make it more specific, whether to say that, in new single family, that this is what this needs to look like, a new construction, and then maybe even calling out what, specifically what a cooking unit is, because I know that can kind of be splitting hairs, but to determine what those are, so we have a little more clarity in what we can approve, so we don't create more problems.
to me, a kitchen has a stove and an oven.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to put a definition for cooking unit because somebody may have a 2nd floor wet bar with a wine fridge, a sink, and a microwave, and the microwave could be a cooking unit too.
But
that's for you guys to make.
So we could like
that's
clarify.
really, I think a stove is, no,
Stove,
you know,
oven, yeah.
we all have wet bars.
But what about a 2-burner induction burner or something? I'm just trying to think of, my mother-in-law moves in with us, and she, I want to put her upstairs, and her knees are bad, and so I put in a little sink and a little fridge and a little hot plate so she can make ramen.
Sounds like you
Is
just
that a
don't want to
kitchen?
see her.
No, you're gonna be feeding.
Edit that one. So, I mean, I think, I understand for the city to have the ability to say no to something that is clearly at a cross purpose, but it's a little bit concerning when you're talking about going after things that have been historically here and infringing on people's rights.
There are an awful lot of houses that have 2 kitchens in them.
So why wouldn't we just say go forward?
Right.
Would be-
That would solve the enforcement, the permit approval portion.
Yep, we can have it tied to new construction.
And then in the case
And
with
substantial
Randy,
improvements.
Randy, in your case, if this wasn't passed, they still had a way to go in for that duplex. Because it was being used in an illegal manner, right? I mean, we didn't need this.
Yeah, it would have been better to have this, because when it was under construction, you could tell it was the same. 1st and 2nd floor were exactly the same. And I called Eric and I'm like, how is this even possible? And he goes, we don't have this ordinance.
So if we can close that option for them and then still have the option of then if it's being used illegally from a rental.
Yeah, that's so they had a couple things.
A neighbor of mine built their home, and they had 2 kitchens. and
And if they're using it
it
correctly in
got
a single
stopped.
family, then
It got stopped. Plain and simple, it got stopped.
Yeah, if this would have been in place,
No, it got stopped then.
Under
They
the,
came-
under the present zoning.
It came, yes. They were gonna use part of the house for rental, and they had a suite with a bedroom and a kitchen and a bath for them to stay in.
A lot of that goes on too.
Yeah, so, and it was stopped by Eric. They didn't get a approval. I mean, and they'd already done it, and it had to be torn down.
so it's different if it's new construction and permitted and built, and then it's different if you have something that is unpermitted that you just convert your space into. So it's easier to stop that space conversion because you're working without permits. It's harder to do the new construction, because if they have proper egress, obviously there's a way that it can be done.
This was new construction.
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
could it have been stopped for
Sure.
different reasons? maybe?
No, it was stopped because of that reason.
Do you remember the address, so Katie could give us more current information?
It's right next door.
The
The
blue
yellow, the yellow.
Yeah, maybe yellow.
But it was stopped.
Okay. Well, maybe that's a little more information,
Because
if you could look it up, Katie, and figure out why, and maybe email us.
Do you know what they're-
I noticed this keeps talking about interior kitchens, and then you define a kitchen and you don't talk about it being interior versus the.
Within a structure.
The preamble and the last page, one complete interior kitchen shall be allowed per dwelling unit. Is it interior, is that what we're seeking to prohibit?
Yeah, more than one interior kitchen.
Then I would say that we should put down that the kitchen is an interior structure or something like that. Define it as not indicating it covers those kitchens on the roof deck or patio, something like that. And also, we talk about the dwelling, two-family dwelling and single-family dwelling, and separated into multiple dwelling units. What is a dwelling unit? As we define that, it says a building or portion thereof, including a complete kitchen. Is that an interior kitchen, or is that an exterior kitchen, or is it either one? I think we need to be a little more precise in our definitions.
Okay, would you like to propose a motion to correct that?
Do we have to have a motion to approve? And then have a motion to amend?
No, we can amend and then do the final approval for the whole. We can do it any way we wanna do it.
Okay.
I'll move we accept it with those amendments on it, referring to dwelling units and interior kitchens that I've referred to. We'll let staff do the language changes.
So to be clear, for the dwelling single-family definition, I'm not sure if anything should be changed there. For the dwelling unit definition, the red part should say including a complete interior kitchen.
That's what I would say. And then when you're using in the dwelling two-family occupied by two families in a dwelling unit living independent of each other, something like that. I have confidence the staff can come up with something that makes sense.
Well, the language cooking unit leaves it.
We have a
loosen to
motion
give
from
you some-
Mr. Anderson about the dwelling unit definition.
Well, and if we're talking about kitchens, okay, like you said, word complete kitchen, I think of a complete kitchen, it's got an oven and a stove and a dishwasher and a microwave and refrigerator, everything in a main kitchen. Many times, second floor will have a microwave and a refrigerator.
Kitchenette.
Is that that can't be considered a,
So that,
That's why I wanted to
That's
define
not a
cooking
full kitchen.
unit, because, people wanna have their wet bars and
Yeah.
butler pantries upstairs.
And they don't wanna run downstairs every time they want a cup of
So
coffee.
would a solution, Randy, be to say, contains a sink, refrigerator unit and a not wired, how would you say?
Powered?
Like, if it's included in your electrical.
Well, the rough-in,
Built in?
the thing about cooking unit, if you leave it a cooking unit, that's up to the building official to decide.
I like that, give some more leeway.
So I'm fine with that and, like it is. Instead of defining it more, I think it's, acceptable that way.
What's the genesis of this ordinance, Katie? Did it come from some other
The
jurisdiction?
two examples that we talked about earlier, Mr. Carter's example, as well as the new construction plans that staff did a preliminary review on.
Do other municipalities have similar?
I do not know, I would have to research that.
I would recommend that we look that up and see if we can't steal the proper language from somebody that makes sense to us. Excuse me, not steal, appropriate.
Shamelessly copied?
Follow. We don't steal, we borrow.
Katie, is this urgent?
How was, Eric and Aaron with the language?
Okay enough to float it to you guys. We just wanted to kind of test the temperature to see, how planning commission felt, and, I mean,
I think it's a
it
good
would
idea.
make our jobs easier to have this. I see that there are pros and cons. But up to you guys how much clarity you want, or if you want to, you guys can recommend to not approve it,
I think
or fail to recommend it to council.
I would say, Madam Chairman, that I would make a motion that we table this, pending more information from staff on other municipalities and clarification of language.
And bring it back up in January?
So is it possible for you to find out if they don't have any wording on this in particular, what they do to solve that problem, or is it just, that's too far out of a?
I'll look at City of Charleston, I'll look at Charleston County, Boundaries Island, Sullivan Island, IOP, and see if they have any kitchen definitions, or how they define their dwelling units. If they don't, then that's my homework.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got a motion to table. Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Okay. All right, we're gonna table till January, pending some additional information from staff. Okay. Brings us to. Right there, that's exactly right there. All right. Okay, we finished with that one, on the kitchens. Do we have any staff comments? We do not. Okay, we have any commissioners' comments? Anybody? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, got that. All right, we're all ready. Thank y'all, good job.
Good job. Thank you.
Please say your husband says hello.
Yes.
Richard.
We can always.
Good luck with the house.
Thank you.